Hey guys, welcome to the channel. We're glad you're here. I'm Will, your host. I'm joined by one of my best friends, John Travis. He has a lovely wife named Kelly, four cats, one dog, and he's a professional screenwriter. And I'll list some of his credits below, so check those out. He's done at least 100 pitches in his career. He's fabulous at it. But you're going to have to wait till the next episode to hear his pitch because in this one, I'm going to pitch and he's going to laugh at it and we're going to have fun. So let's break down the original plot. And look, I'm sure there are people who love this movie, who are fans of this movie, and that's great. More power to you. We do not love this movie, so you're going to hear why. And then we're going to move on to my pitch for what I think the movie should have been like. So, the Phantom Menace, and I don't know if this was clear to you, John, but the balance of the Force, it's not the balance between the Jedi and the Sith, which I had always just kind of imagined, but it's the balance between the Force and nature.
Huh. I always thought it was the first one.
Yeah. So, when they're talking about how Anakin Skywalker is going to bring balance to the Force, I always thought it was good and evil, right?
Right.
But no, it's the Force and nature. So the opening crawl, I'm not going to read it. Uh, it talks
It's
about
all about Trade Federation stuff.
taxation of trade routes. And I mean, I remember seeing this. Look, I think Star Wars is just, it's a tale of good versus evil, right? So that the fact that the opening crawl is starting with taxation and politics, just kind of a bad sign to begin with. But let's jump into the actual plot. So Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, the Jedi, arrive on board the Trade Federation ship. Darth Sidious orders an invasion of the planet Naboo and the assassination of the Jedi with battle droids. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan survive the ambush and escape to Naboo. During the ensuing invasion, Qui-Gon rescues Jar Jar Binks, who takes the Jedi to the Gungan city.
Everyone's favorite Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I know like my nephew who was just a little kid at the time, maybe even under 6. No, he might not even have been born at this point in 97. He wasn't
Okay.
born, but he saw these movies, right? The prequels at an early age, and so he likes them. So obviously Jar Jar Binks was designed for children,
Yeah.
but
Comedy
I
character.
yeah, it's just like the worst kind of children's entertainment, you know, pandering to little kids with this immature, sort of stupid, slapsticky character.
Yeah. Like
Anyway,
he could have been Baby Yoda and everyone would have
right.
loved. Yep.
Yeah. Something that appeals to adults and kids, kind of like Pixar movies. All right. The Jedi fail to convince Boss Nass to help the surface dwellers. Jar Jar guides the Jedi through the planet's core to the Nebulian city. Nebulians is the technical
Nobulian?
term. Yeah,
Is that canon?
I think so. They meet Queen Padme Amidala and rescue her from the invasion just in time. Amidala's ship is damaged in the escape, forcing them to land on Tatooine for repairs. The group ventures into the city of Mos Espa and meet Watto, the junk dealer, and his 9-year-old slave, Anakin Skywalker, who has constructed C3PO. And I don't know if people remember this, but I do at the time. Watto and Jar Jar Binks and the Trade Federation characters, they were all criticized for being racist stereotypes.
Yep.
To me, that I don't know if that was ever a big deal, but
I
it
mean, it was a
just
big deal at the time.
it just kind of shows you the I don't know if it's the level of immaturity or the lack of intellectualism in those characterizations. Anyway, let's move
Yes.
on.
Yes to both. Yes.
Okay.
Problematic at best.
Qui-Gon Qui-Gon senses that Anakin is special and could even be the chosen one who's destined to bring balance to the Force. He tests the levels of midi-chlorians in the boy's blood. Midi-chlorians being one of the biggest missteps of this movie.
Yep.
They're and for people who aren't familiar, they're they're actual microscopic beings that imbue the Force with its powers, right? And
Right. Like
they
if you're born without no midichlorians, you can't be a Jedi or a Sith. You're not
right,
force sensitive.
which was not only just totally ruins the Force, the concept of the Force, but it kind of it backs them into a corner story wise as far as future Star Wars tales.
Although they never use is they never like harvest midichlorians and then start injecting it into like super soldiers.
Hmm.
They never tried that idea.
Yeah, I don't
Like
now.
Darth Sidious just like takes all the midichlorians out of a bunch of Jedi's and make himself like Hulk strong
Right.
in the Force.
Yeah, I don't.
Terrible idea, but they could have gone that way.
In the current stories, they're like doing cloning and stuff like that. I don't know if that involves
They never
midichlorians or not.
mention that, like
Mm.
midichlorian harvesting.
But I'm sure there's all kinds of Star Wars fans who know these things right in and out. So forgive our ignorance. Anakin's mother Shmi claims that the boy was born of a virgin birth. Now I don't I don't know if you remember this, John, but I do from the very first time we saw the movie on the night of the premiere. I think when she tells Qui-Gon there was no father, I remember the audience laughing. That was like the one, as far as I remember, unintentional laugh of the movie.
I don't remember that, but they never went anywhere with it.
Mm.
You know,
Right, they
it
and
wasn't like
later
the chosen one had to be from a virgin birth, and we never even like that was one problem with the chosen one was that there wasn't like, oh, you're talking about this prophecy. They just say, oh, the prophecy of the chosen one. They don't go into it at all.
they kind of intimate later, right, that Palpatine was responsible. It's kind of muddled,
Kind
I
of.
feel like, but I think that's the way it goes. But it's just odd, and it's odd that you'd bring in this element of obviously Christianity when the Force was fine the way it was in the original trilogy, kind of this mystical element that didn't really need a whole lot of explaining other than what they said in the original trilogy. Anyway, Watto refuses to take Republic currency, so Qui-Gon wagers the repair and Anakin's freedom on the local pod race.
Pod race, which was awesome.
Anakin wins the race and joins the group, leaving behind his mother. They narrowly escape an attack from Darth Maul, Darth Sidious's apprentice, on their way to Coruscant, the capital of the Republic. There, Qui-Gon pleads with the Jedi Council, including Yoda and Mace Windu, to allow him to train Anakin as a Jedi, but is denied. The Council thinks that the boy's age makes him vulnerable to the dark side of the Force. Qui-Gon vows to train Anakin anyway. And that's also strange that, Luke was too old in the original, right? Even though in the first one he's like 20 or something.
Yeah,
And
what
then
18,
when he
19?
meets Yoda, he must be a few years older, so early 20s. But
Yeah, and how young do you have to be to
right,
start your training? Do you have to be like 5?
Anakin's 9 years old. And
Right.
so,
He's too old.
yeah,
He's already aged out.
they show younglings, right, later and maybe in the sequel, and they're like toddlers, but still, it seems like a questionable point.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Naboo's Senator Palpatine persuades Amidala to call for a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum to elect a more capable leader in the face of this crisis. Now, I have to say, this was also just one of the stupid, flat out stupid things of the movie is that it's called the Phantom Menace, presumably referring to Emperor Palpatine. And here we have a main character named Senator Palpatine, played by the same actor as Emperor Palpatine, which removes all of the mystery, right?
That's
So
true.
if you're gonna remove all of that mystery and just say, okay, here's Senator Palpatine, he's gonna become Emperor Palpatine, I think you've really got to make an effort to intrigue us with that transformation, and it's just kind of like thrown at us.
And it's never understood why the Jedi Council and all those hundreds of Jedis who meet this guy, this senator, don't have any thought that he might be evil, right? Yoda?
Right, no one knows, no one senses even, because I think they believe that the Sith are no longer around.
Right.
Frustrated with political corruption, Amidala decides to return to Naboo, and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are ordered to accompany her and investigate the return of the Sith. And that's based upon Darth Maul's appearance. Back on Naboo, Amidala persuades the Gungans to help the Nabooians. Jar Jar is promoted to general and ordered to fight with his tribe against the battle droids. And, there ensues all kinds of like Buster Keaton type hijinks on the battlefield.
Yep.
When really I mean, those scenes should have been like the Avengers Infinity War, where, right? The first one, the first of, no, sorry. The first Avengers of the two-part Avengers saga, where it's
I think it's
the,
called Infinity War, and the second one's called
yeah,
Endgame. Yeah.
right. So an Infinity War, where it's, all the space aliens fighting against the Wakandans and stuff.
Right.
It should have
And
been
people are
like
getting
that.
killed left and right.
And it's, for the most part, aside from some quips, it's pretty straightforward, and that works so much better. Amidala leads the search for Newt Gunray, the Viceroy of the Trade Federation. While hiding inside a starfighter, Anakin accidentally triggers autopilot and joins the space battle against the Federation droid control ship. With R2-D2's help, Anakin destroys the ship, deactivating the droid army. And I know this was another big issue that people had with the lore. The fact that Obi-Wan said that when he first met Anakin, he was already a great pilot. And yeah, he was great in the pod race as a 9-year-old. But here it's just kind of like, I remember he's just like, uh-oh, whoops, presses the wrong button and blows up another ship or something, right?
Yeah, it's like, let's try spinning. That's a good trick. And it's just
Yeah,
like he accidentally saves the day.
right. And the performances, which were also heavily criticized at the time, don't help, especially
Yeah.
with Jake Lloyd. And it's so hard. Let's give Lucas some credit in that it's really hard to find good child actors, like the,
I think it's Lucas's fault because I bet the casting director found Jake Lloyd and they were like, this kid's great. And then George Lucas gave him no direction.
right. Well, we know based upon stories that was never Lucas's strong suit. And I wonder, not to get sidetracked too much here, but he offered the directing role for this movie to a bunch of other people who all said no for various reasons. And I think, the reason was the script, but they say it's, you know, they say for other reasons. But anyway,
That would be fascinating just to see what Steven Spielberg would have
yeah.
done with it.
Or even Ron Howard at the time, he was offered it and said no, but I'm sure he would have gotten more out of the actors.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan have a lightsaber duel with Darth Maul. Only Obi-Wan survives. When the fighting ends, Newt Gunray is arrested by the Republic, and Senator Palpatine is elected the new Chancellor of the Republic. Yoda promotes Obi-Wan to the rank of Jedi Knight and reluctantly accepts Anakin as Obi-Wan's apprentice. At Qui-Gon's funeral, Yoda and Mace Windu speculate that there is still one Sith out there, since there's always a master and apprentice. That also, I feel like, shoehorns them into a certain space for future tales, that the fact that there's always got to be two of them.
Yeah,
The
because
move,
wouldn't it be cooler to see like 5 Sith fighting 10 Jedi instead of just 2 on 2 or 1 on 2 or 1 on 1?
right? And it just anyway. The movie ends with a celebratory parade on Naboo. That's the end of the movie, and I feel like when we first saw it, some of the things, like I mentioned, were just stupid or immature. But I feel like we gave it, the first time we saw it at that time, we gave it a certain amount of grace as Star Wars fans. But
Yeah, and there was I mean, the special effects were awesome. The
yeah,
droids looked real, even though they were 100% CGI. Uh, Jar Jar Binks looked like he was there with the real actors. Like when they would touch him and interact, it looked real. It looked great, and the final duel between the one Sith and the two Jedi is incredible, and the music is great. So there was and the pod race was very cool, even though like guys are getting killed brutally. There was a lot to like about it.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, the score was magnificent. Like you said, the lightsaber duel was awesome. And I think that we wanted more, even more of that, right?
Yeah,
Instead, in the beginning of the movie, you just have them fighting these droids or whatever, and it's like, who cares? But I just, I think now, especially like I'm thinking of some of the Clone Wars animated shows and
mm-hmm.
even things that they've done in the video game showing Jedi action, have just, those are the things that we wanted then in 97 but didn't really get, aside from that climactic duel. And I give Lucas credit for pioneering the whole digital technology. I think in that movie he only shot one scene digitally. um but it
Oh
was,
yeah, that's true. He
huh?
shot that movie was shot on film mostly.
Yeah, he was laying the groundwork for which, now it's everywhere.
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to pitch my version of the Phantom Menace. And I know there are people who are going to say, "Oh, that's stupid," which is, you're completely entitled
Why
to
would they
say
say
so.
that?
Well, one reason is, I didn't spend weeks or months or years on this thing. I did one pass and then that was it. So as I'm going through it, there may be even things that surprise me. uh, but, some people may say, "Oh, I have a better idea than that." And if you do, go ahead, share that in the comments and we can laugh at yours. So I just wanted to say a few things before I start. And that's, in my version, there's no midi-chlorians, all right?
Good.
There's no
Not
virgin
needed.
birth. and there's no Jar Jar Binks. So those are like three key things that I wanted to eliminate.
Is there a trade federation?
There is, which for better or worse, we'll
You
see.
picked the trade federation. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wasn't gonna. I didn't want to like completely start over from scratch, right? I wanted to
Oh,
retain
okay.
some semblance of what Lucas was going for in his version.
All right.
Also, to start from scratch just would have been like too much.
I would have burned it to the ground.
So I didn't write an opening crawl because why? But
Yeah.
as we mentioned, Star Wars is about good and evil, plain and simple. So the crawl would have been very simplistic, like you saw in the original Star Wars, where it's just just taking bringing us into what's going on at the moment, right? So that's what it would have been like. Okay. um so I have three things going on here: a plot A, a plot B, and a plot C. So let me just clarify that really quickly. Plot A, that's pretty much going to be our action story with as much good Jedi action as possible. Plot B is kind of like the political intrigue element, and I'm thinking of kind of like the political machinations that you see in Game of Thrones, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And then plot C is maybe like the smallest story in there, but it's a detective story, and yeah, you'll find out what that's all about. So I'm not gonna tell I'm just gonna go through. I won't say, well, this is this plot, this is that plot. It just kind of it goes back and forth as we go. So this is kind of long, so bear with me. And John, you can interrupt me anytime you see fit.
Are you going
So
to set the stage?
uh
Like,
mm,
is there peace in the galaxy? Is the Jedi Council and the Jedi Core
okay.
basically in stasis, and everyone's kind of they're running the show?
Right, so we're starting where the original kind of did, just where there's peace in the galaxy. We have the Jedi Council on Coruscant, and we have the Jedi just kind of being the police, right, of the galaxy.
Yeah, the special
So
police.
yeah,
I mean, like
uh,
every planet probably has their own police force, and they're like the SWAT team, but they're monks. I don't know.
the peacekeepers or something.
Yeah, yeah, they're
Okay.
peacekeepers.
All right, so diving right in. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are hot on the heels of a terrorist known as Maul. Not Darth Maul, right? Just Maul, who's been causing mayhem in Coruscant. Kind of, I feel like he's been, setting off bombs and whatnot, just causing disruption in the capital.
Oh, like is the first scene like a cafe on Coruscant, and then it blows up, and then like
No,
that there.
it, it could have been like that, but I just trying to advance the timeline here. So
Okay.
what they've finally cornered him on an outlying planet with mysterious ancient ruins there. I didn't
Okay.
come up with a name for a planet or anything. It's just there. I came up with names which are kind of
Creepy planet.
funny later on, but
Okay.
um, so we're on this mysterious planet. They finally cornered him, and the Jedi battle with Maul's henchmen with relative ease. And look, it's they're using force pushes and they're throwing their lightsabers and they're doing all kinds of cool stuff, right? That we always wanted to see.
Yep.
But to their surprise, when they face Maul, he wipes the floor with both of them
Okay.
because they just thought he's just this terrorist, cowardly terrorist guy setting off bombs and whatnot. But
That he
in
wasn't.
it,
They didn't know he was force sensitive.
yeah, and he's got this lightsaber, right? And so
The
he
the
just,
two the two edged one, an awesome
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Sure.
And so he wipes the floor with them, and then he escapes in his spaceship but the bruised Jedi doggedly pursue him off planet.
All right.
Now, on Coruscant, we're introduced to the Jedi Council, and it's Mace Windu, not Yoda, who's the head of the council. And here's why.
Okay.
Mace Windu, he's as portrayed still by Sam Jackson, he's highly intellectual, logical thinker, and sure, he's a great fighter, but we don't know that at the time. And he's a
Mhm.
great politician, right? So he can talk to the Jedi and he can talk to the non-Jedi in the Republic. But also Yoda, as you know, in the original trilogy, he's kind of a weirdo, right? And I didn't want it to be that he was only a weirdo then. In the past, he's still kind of this oddball, kind of a comic oddball. And really what I was thinking
Okay.
was Yoda is Zatoichi, right? He's not blind, but people think he's a moron when actually,
Because he acts kind of crazy. Like, so
right,
it's the Yoda from episode
from
5.
Empire. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And
So
so, okay, yeah. All right. I like that idea. That's fun. Okay.
that's the way he disarms people by being just this weird little weirdo who likes to crack jokes and stuff, but really he's this master Jedi.
Okay.
So Mace Windu works as the Jedi liaison and the head, really, for the Republic. He works closely with Chancellor Valorum, who is in the original. He's the head of the Republic.
Same actor.
Sure.
All right.
And Chancellor Valorum narrowly avoids an assassination attempt by a sniper.
Okay.
However, Maul, everyone knows this terrorist Maul, he couldn't have been responsible because, going back, he's leading Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan through an asteroid field currently. The asteroid field damages the Jedi's ship and forces them to land on the nearest suitable planet, which happens to be Tatooine, just
Okay.
like the original. Mace Windu and Chancellor Valorum sit down and they discuss who could be responsible for the assassination attempt. And Valorum points to Padme Amidala, the Queen of Naboo, who's made recent threats over what she perceives to be the Republic's neglect of hostile actions by the powerful Trade Federation. So that whole element of the Trade Federation menacing the planet of Naboo, it's there. It's just not the primary focus.
Okay. So, like, Queen Amidala is angry at Coruscant that, like, you guys are so rich and powerful, and we're this tiny little planet on the outskirts of the galaxy. You guys need to help us out with these corrupt Trade Federation people.
Yes, and she's not. I wouldn't call Amidala in the original meek or naive or anything like that, but I'd say in this version she's even more outspoken, more of
She's a little
a,
angry. She's angry at
yeah,
Coruscant for not helping out.
kind of a
Okay.
political rebel, and that kind of makes her a pariah in the Republic.
Mhm.
Um, but very, vocally very, very strong.
Does the sniper, when he tries and misses to kill the head of the Senate, does he like leave a little calling card that points to Queen Amidala? Like they're.
All right, so you beat me to it just by one scene here. The
Oh,
next
sorry.
part, Yoda, and this is plot C, after calculating the best spots for the sniper's perch, he finds a shell from an incendiary round that leads him on his own oddball investigation.
A what?
In,
Incendiary?
incendiary, yes, I always have trouble with that word.
Okay.
Incendiary round that leads him on his own oddball investigation. So now he is acting kind of like Zatoichi, right? But or I don't know who you can, Batman or something. He's starting his own side investigation.
And so does he move and walk like the Yoda from Empire Strikes Back? Like, is he like even older? Because in the Phantom Menace, he's almost like a younger Yoda, you know. So like, does he have a cane and stuff?
I think that he's younger, but just slightly younger, right? Because this
Right. I
is
mean,
what 30 years before A New Hope. So it's
yeah,
not that great of a leap.
not that many. Yeah,
So I'd still give him his cane.
yeah, good.
Um,
You should. He's like 900 years old.
yeah. In the small town of Mos Espa, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan find a junk dealer named Watto who can repair their ship. He has an apprentice named Anakin Skywalker, a clever 16-year-old teenager. And I
Okay.
think that's important, right? Because we get out of the realm of childhood. We've got this actor who would probably be 20 years old or something, portraying
Hmm.
a 16-year-old. But
Yep.
now I just find it much more believable that when the Jedi meet him, they could see great things in him. And he could also be this great pilot, like
And he can also fight a little bit. Like, he's
right.
not going to pick up a lightsaber and start using it. But yeah, okay, good idea.
Anakin's mother, Shmi, invites the Jedi to stay at their home. She speaks cryptically of her background and how she and Anakin came to be on Tatooine. So she doesn't mention anything like there's no virgin birth in my story, but she speaks
Hmm.
cryptically in a way that just kind of tells Qui-Gon, I guess, like there's probably more to this story.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Mace Windu meets Queen Amidala, who claims to be innocent of the assassination attempt. Senator Palpatine, also from Naboo, says it's the Trade Federation that should be investigated because they want to seize power in the Republic. We also meet Palpatine's aide de camp, his middle aged son, Hantu. All right. That's
Hantu?
Hantu. Hantu. Now,
Hantu.
why Hantu? Well, in Indonesian it means phantom, but
Oh,
people
okay.
wouldn't know that, right?
Right.
It's so he's Palpatine's, and like I said, he's middle age, right? So let's say he's 40-ish. Um, and
Palpatine. Senator Palpatine's 40.
no. Senator Palpatine is old, like in the original. He's like a senior
Oh, okay.
citizen, but
All right. All right.
his son Hantu is middle age.
Okay. Got it. All right.
So I feel like he'd bring more gravitas, being 40-ish.
Wait, so who's the actor that plays Hantu?
I have no idea. If someone comes to mind, mention him in the comments.
All
So
right.
he's Palpatine's aide, and son, and
And
Palpatine kind of
heir.
berates him though. He
Oh,
doesn't give him, just like little comments off to the side, which would piss off anyone probably.
of course. Thanks, Dad.
Meanwhile, Yoda's scrounging around the scummier parts of Coruscant, trying to find the owner of that incendiary round. Incendiary round. He's
Explosive round.
Yep. He starts with a sketchy arms dealer named Grukuk.
Grukuk. That's
Yeah.
a good Star Wars name. What's that
Who un-
mean?
I don't know.
You just came up with Grukuk?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
Who unleashes her goons on him.
Oh.
Using the force only, Yoda makes the goons beat the snot out of each other instead.
Ah,
So,
okay.
he doesn't whip out his lightsaber and start doing spinning kicks and whatnot, but
Because
he
he's an
just
old man. He can't flip. He can't do that. Does he
right.
have a lightsaber?
I don't know, but if he did,
I think he should.
it'd
I think
probably
he's
be
so strong with the Force, he doesn't need it.
yeah. But if he did have a lightsaber, it'd be hitting in his cane, right?
Obviously, just like
Right,
Zatoichi.
right.
Okay.
Now with loose lips, Grukik claims that the round is highly specialized and something she doesn't even trade in. She suggests visiting a local bar where ruffians are known to congregate. Back on Tatooine, just as Watto is about to finish his repairs on the Jedi's ship, Tusken raiders blow through the city or town, wreaking havoc.
All right.
Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan witness Anakin's bravery, quick thinking, and possible use of the Force in the melee. The
Okay.
Jedi kill the raiders' leader, which Watto laments will only lead to more bloodshed. The town's comms have also been destroyed, isolating them from the rest of the planet. So with this plot A, I was specifically thinking of Seven Samurai.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
if you see the elements there, yeah. And Tusken Raiders, I don't know if we'd really think of them as being this aggressive hostile force like this, but in 97 I think it would have worked.
I mean, in the first Star Wars movie, they're scary
Hmm.
and they're also cool looking.
And people have to keep in mind that I'm not there have been stories told now, like specifically the Mandalorian, where they might even have used elements that I'm talking about, but we're going back to 97, so those things wouldn't have existed.
Hey, if you want to borrow from Mandalorian, that's great. I love that show.
Back on Coruscant, Windu, Queen Amidala, and Senator Palpatine dine with Newt Gunray, the Viceroy of the Trade Federation, and
Okay.
his inner circle. And their portrayal doesn't have to be like the original, they could be completely different here.
They should be more brusque and they're like they're such a rich trade federation. They're almost maybe it should be like uh basically that trade federation, the British one in India in the 1800s,
Oh yeah. The what is
where
it?
they're so rich that they can break laws and kill people as long as it's on that side of the galaxy.
Yeah.
And that's what Queen Amidala is trying to say and trying to tell, the leaders on Coruscant.
Yeah. Despite the trade dispute, Gunray also claims to be innocent of that assassination attempt. Moments later, he dies horribly via poison, leading to a
Mm,
tense standoff with weapons drawn. That Mace Windu, again, he's this great politician and a Jedi. Windu somehow manages to pacify, so it doesn't actually come to violence.
okay.
Meanwhile, Yoda visits the bar that is patronized by an even more bizarre collection of aliens than seen in the original Cantina scene. Using Jedi mind tricks, he meets a nasty customer named Sarnal, who identifies the incendiary incendiary
Explosive,
round
explosive round.
as belonging to a Mandalorian.
Oh,
He doesn't know the Mandalorian's name or what he looks like without his helmet, obviously, but Sarnal suggests exploring the tunnels underneath Coruscant to find him. And so I was thinking, the tunnels under North Coruscant are like this, it's its own,
city.
yeah, it's its own collection of towns and people and whatnot.
And they live in the sewers, but it's
Yeah,
like multi-leveled living spaces. It's like a
right.
whole nother city down there. That's cool.
Like
Yeah,
that
because it just
ancient city in Turkey that you went to see, right?
oh yeah, yeah, those underground cities in where? Cappadocia?
Yeah.
Yeah, super cool.
Back to Tatooine, the Jedi take stock of the townspeople and their armory in Mos Espa, which amounts to little. As for fighters, there's a young man named Dengar who's made a name for himself locally as a pugilist. And I just threw that in there as an Easter egg. Dengar, he's one of the bounty hunters from Empire. Do you remember
Okay.
that?
Shouldn't he be more like a gunfighter? Like like the two Jedi go into the saloon and they're like, "Hey, Dengar, we hear you can help us out maybe." And he's like, not the Seven Samurai, but the Magnificent Seven, where he's a quick draw
Yeah,
guy? Or do
that
you want the
makes
punching?
no, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay,
Gunslinger.
yeah.
There's also C-3PO. Now, he's a humanoid robot that Watto, not Anakin, has been tinkering with, and he's been building him for security, not protocol.
Ah, okay.
So that's why they think, oh, we could use him as a weapon. And, it's kind of reminds me of the droid from Mandalorian and how he just looks kind of like a stupid tin can man, but actually he's quite deadly.
Oh, in the
So,
first, yeah, and then the pilot
yeah.
episode. Oh,
So
that's a
why
cool idea.
so why couldn't
Does he still have the same
C-3PO?
voice though?
Yeah, and I don't, I
Yeah, he
wasn't
should have the same voice.
that like English butler voice.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I, I guess,
Played
but
by the same actor. Okay.
totally different personality, right? Because later on
Mhm.
he's gonna be repurposed and into a
Right.
protocol droid.
Okay.
Anakin suggests they ask a nearby loner by the name of Ronin, not so subtle, right? Ronin for
Okay.
help.
Yep.
Watto objects, claiming that Ronin's nothing but some crazy drunk guy. But the Jedi figure they've got nothing to lose, so Anakin
And the
guides
Tusken
them.
Raiders they're coming back with like a big army.
Right.
Okay.
So Anakin
All
guides
right.
them to Ronin with via speeder bikes. Okay. Is this all making sense so far?
Yeah. Oh
Okay.
wait, I have a question though.
Yeah.
In the first Tusken Raider attack, when
Yeah.
16-year-old Anakin Skywalker, um, what's the thing that he does, the little force thing that the two Jedi are like, oh, I think he's force sensitive.
I didn't come up with anything specific, but I'd figured, it's something that shows his bravery. And so it'd be like he saves somebody's life and he, maybe he uses the force to.
Maybe like he's running across the battlefield, getting shot at, and to save this little girl that this column's gonna fall on her, and he it's like the two Jedi see the column fall, and it's like, oh, he just got killed, and the little girl's dead, and then they run over, and he's like holding up the column with the
Yeah.
force, and
Or
then
if you really want to endear him to the audience, he saves a space dog. Right.
okay, all right. But something where it's like, oh my god, he's got the force,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then they could even have a conversation later, like, do you know you're force sensitive or something? He's like,
Yeah.
well, no, but there's been a few times in my life when strange stuff has happened like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
And he
cool.
and he he exhibits the, you know, he exhibits that, or he embodies the Jedi personality, which incorporates all these good traits, which
Hmm.
is what helps imbue him with the Force, not
Okay,
midichlorians.
right. Selflessness.
Yeah. Okay. Yoda. Yoda hunts for the Mandalorian in the maze of tunnels underneath Coruscant. There he meets a laborer named Jango Fett, his wife, and their infant son, Boba.
Okay,
Jango claims to know the tunnel system better than anyone, so he agrees to help Yoda find the Mandalorian in exchange for a small fee, chump change or whatever.
okay.
And due to his compassion, obviously, for this family in need, Yoda agrees. And obviously, no one would have known who Jango Fett was. Well, aside from the name, but that
Right.
he's a Mandalorian or whatever. And maybe they don't even say his last name at that point. He's just Jango.
He says Django. Okay.
And maybe they don't say their son's name yet either. But obviously, it comes out
Oh,
during
yeah,
the
maybe
course.
in his last scene, Django's last scene. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for helping my wife, Sally, and my son, Boba.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
On approach to Ronin's house, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Anakin, they're attacked by none other than Ronan himself, who proves highly competent with a lightsaber. However,
Oh,
as Watto claimed, he also favors the drink, which makes him testy and unpleasant at times. Once Anakin's able to clear up this misunderstanding, Ronan tells the tragic tale of how he came to be a masterless Jedi lost in the desert. He only agrees to help the Jedi because he has a soft spot for Shmi, Anakin's mom, causing
oh,
Qui-Gon to wonder if Ronan is Anakin's father.
all right.
So at least, we've got our first possible suspect as to who his dad could be.
Okay. And
Back
then,
to
oh, wait. So, Ronan,
yeah.
is his story that he used to live on Coruscant and with the Jedi core, and then his master got killed and he left? And did you
Yeah,
come up
so
with a nice, like a sentence or something?
yeah, so you're ahead of the game again. So
Okay.
we'll
Oh, okay. That's
but
about
I
later. All
think
right.
that makes me feel good, at least in that it seems to narratively it seems to be coming together.
Yeah.
uh okay. Mace Windu asks the Jedi Council, with Yoda noticeably absent, to prove the personal protection of Queen Amidala by the Jedi. They deny the request, not wanting to involve themselves in a messy political affair. So Windu at that point volunteers to serve as Amidala's personal bodyguard.
Okay. Wait. Why?
Why did they
Because
deny it?
the Trade Federation guy just got poisoned and everyone thinks she did it, but
Yeah.
Windu knows she didn't because of the Force. Like he can look into her mind. He's like, I know you didn't do it.
Well, so everything's escalating there. This situation, and Mace Windu obviously feels that Amidala is, a good character, as we also know her to be.
Mhm.
Um, and it, kind of, I was just kind of thinking, like in the original, they deny the request to make Anakin Padawan,
Mhm.
but I need Windu and Amidala involved somehow, right? So
Yeah, no,
okay.
that makes sense. And it makes sense that the Jedi Council the Jedi need to be outside of politics.
Hmm.
Makes sense.
Yoda and Jango encounter some Trade Federation thugs who are searching for Newt Gunray's assassin among the
Mm,
usual suspects of local criminals, and I just feel like they're doing their due diligence there. Before they can out Jango as a Mandalorian assassin, he kills them. So he
okay.
silences them all with using one of their own blasters, and so he shows Yoda his competence as a warrior.
Mhm.
So maybe he's not this innocent laborer, but he's not outed at that point.
But does he wear the clothes of a Mandalorian or is he not?
No, 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 no. He's just
No, okay, he just looks like a regular poor
right,
person living in the sewers. The
right. He's
sewers.
or pretending to be
Okay.
one.
All right.
Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, they're ragtag team of mercenaries, and the townspeople of Mos Espa face off against the returning Tusken Raiders. As expected, the carnage is worse than before. Dengar's face is horribly scarred, which it has to be because we see that in Empire Strikes Back. And both Watto and Shmi are killed because I feel like we need
Oh.
consequences here,
Mhm.
which consequences, as are often missing from movies.
And is
Um,
that the low point?
uh,
His mom dies?
yeah, it could be. I didn't mark it as such, but we're closing in on the climax.
Yeah, so that's probably the low point. So she
Yeah.
dies, and then there's nothing keeping him on that planet.
Oh, whoops! I surprised myself here with the next bit.
Oh,
In the fog of war, you know, we rarely see that also in movies and battle movies. Friendly fire, so to speak. In the fog of war, Ronan sneak attacks Qui-Gon. Okay, so it's a betrayal. It's not an accident. He sneak attacks Qui-Gon and murders him. So here Qui-Gon dies. So yeah, I call it.
So
This is
Qui-Gon and Shmi or Shimmy, what's her name?
Shmi
Shimmy?
and
Shmi
Watto all get
and
killed.
Watto. Okay.
The battle ends with the Tusken Raiders' defeat, but no one is the wiser about Ronan's betrayal. We don't know why, of course, but could
So Obi-Wan Kenobi doesn't know who killed his master.
right. But
Okay.
obviously, they're all Obi-Wan shattered, right? His master's killed, and Anakin shattered because his mom was killed.
It's a great low
And
point.
no one really cares about Watto, but I'd probably make him more sympathetic in this than he was
Hmm.
in the original.
And he was trying to help out the villagers. Okay.
Okay, back to Coruscant. In a private holographic conversation with his friend Count Dooku, Senator Palpatine speculates that threat, this threat that's been eliminating people, is lurking within their own ranks. And I'm introducing Dooku here just, because if this is going to be a trilogy, I want to lay a foundation here.
Yep.
Moments later, Hantu kills his father with the Force by choking him to death.
Mm.
Hantu inquires of a special project with Dooku, who's in the know here, he's evil, who
Okay.
says all is proceeding according to plan, but they don't
Mhm.
specify what that project is.
Okay.
Presumably, it's going to be the cloning, but we don't know the ins and outs, and it wouldn't, it's definitely not going to be what it is in the original.
Okay.
Django reveals himself to be the Mandalorian when he leads Yoda into an ambush with Maul, who's
Mm.
now back on Coruscant. Yoda battles both of them, and the result is a stalemate, because Yoda can't beat them at this point, but also, Yoda's not going to lose to
Right.
these two guys. And like we said, does he use a lightsaber or just the Force? I don't know, but it's a stalemate.
So is it more like they escape or Yoda escapes?
Uh, you know what? I'm gonna say Yoda escapes because I think
Okay.
that would make more sense as to why later on he goes into hiding and stuff, and he's like we said, he's really old.
Yep.
So yeah, he's a powerful Jedi, but he's not who he used to be hundreds of years
Right.
ago.
Hmm.
After burying his mother, Anakin manages to finish repairing the Jedi ship. He joins Obi-Wan on their flight back to Coruscant, even learning how to pilot it with the help of R2D2. And R2D2 was always with Obi-Wan.
Okay.
Ronan tags along as well, claiming that it's time to, because of this traumatic event, it's time to sober up and return to his fellow Jedi.
Okay.
Obi-Wan and Anakin really bond over the grief of losing. Well, Anakin loses a parent, and Obi-Wan kind of loses this parental figure.
Yep.
So this is laying the groundwork for their close friendship.
Hmm.
And it works so much better with Anakin being 16 than 9.
Yep.
Amidala appoints Hantu as the interim senator of Naboo because she doesn't know. Hantu claims that the Trade Federation is to blame for his father's death. Again, back to this squabble, leading Chancellor Valorm to call an emergency session of the Galactic Senate. And he's calling this like a special session of our Senate would, like, I don't know, investigate a matter or address an emergency, just like that. Obi-Wan debriefs the Jedi Council with Anakin and Ronan in attendance, catches them all up to speed. An alarmed Yoda arrives to warn everyone of Maul's return. And he confirms Obi-Wan's suspicion that the Sith have returned. So this is when, everyone's kind of coming to the same conclusion.
Okay.
That's when, okay, this is the climax. That's when a series of explosions rock the city. And, they're no stranger to that because, like I said in the beginning, Maul had been doing those terrorist tactics, but this seems to be a coordinated effort. At the same time, there's a coordinated effort to overthrow the Republic at all ranks. So
Oh.
it's not just one or two guys here. It's, they've infiltrated the Republic over time. So it's at every level. And
And
it's
is it
chaos.
wait, is it Mall or is this the Trade Federation?
Well, ultimately it's the Sith. Uh, but
Okay.
so they've just like Sith is, let's say, Spectre, like in the Bond universe.
Ah, okay. All
So
right. Okay.
they've infiltrated the Republic.
And so there's a
So
bunch of force sensitive evil people, and they're trying to
yes,
take down the democratically elected government of the
yes.
galaxy.
But
Okay.
even more so, and this, I don't know, this might piss off people who say that's not possible or something, but there are also Jedi who are secretly Sith who turn on their counterparts. So,
I
like
love
I
it.
said, it's politicians, soldiers, guards, even Jedi. They've all infiltrated. They're
Any
all,
Jedi on the council?
yeah, possibly one or
Okay.
two.
All right.
So it's this huge fight, right? Re- uh, Republic soldiers turn and they attack Valorum and the Galactic Senate as well, killing off politicians. The
Okay.
Trade Federation guards even are turning on their top brass.
Mm,
The Napoleon guards turn, attempting to kill Queen Amidala. And of
okay.
course, Ronan turns, kind of, you know, the veil's been lifted there on him. So it's this massive battle, It's speaking of consequences, all these important people, they may
Yep.
not have names, but they're dying.
right.
So in the midst of this chaos, several matchups shake out. Obi-Wan versus Ronan,
Right.
Yoda versus Django,
Okay.
and Mace Windu versus Maul. And so
All
now
right.
we get to see that Mace Windu is also this incredible fighter, not just
Mhm.
a kind of a politician, statesman.
Okay.
And
What
it's
about Anakin? Where's Anakin in all this?
yeah. Since Windu is preoccupied with Maul, Anakin is tasked with piloting Amidala back to Naboo, and he manages to win an ensuing space battle on the flight out. So it's really just like he's piloting the ship with Amidala, and it's this daring escape attempt. Because
Okay.
even, there's spaceship battles going on,
Yep.
and it's all intercut like the original.
All right.
Okay, we're getting close here to the end. Back to the duels. Shortly before his death, we learn that Ronan was on Tatooine to keep an eye on Anakin by
Mm,
order of his master, Darth Tyrannus.
okay. Cool
So
name.
if I don't know if you remember, Darth Tyrannus is Count Dooku.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
Okay. So that would probably
Okay.
help clarify things in the future, unlike
All
the
right.
original. So
Yeah.
Tyrannus is Dooku and Darth Sidious would be Hantu.
Okay. Tyrannus is better than Dooku. Definitely. That's a much better title name.
Yoda and Windu also win their respective matchups, but while Django is killed,
Mm,
a wounded Maul, horribly wounded, let's say, Maul managed to escape once more. And I kind
okay.
of did that. I think Maul became such a cool and iconic character that, even they brought him back later on. They brought him back to life.
Right after they cut his legs off, he was still
Yeah.
alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah. No, he
so,
was one of the coolest parts of the first of
right.
Phantom. So
So the Jedi. and just the good guys in general, they managed to quash this rebellion, but
Okay.
at a big cost, I'd say. So many people die, and there's a lot of damage
Mhm.
and whatnot. Maul is ordered by Dooku, aka Darth Tyrannus, to meet him in a secret location to undergo treatment
Okay.
with
Is he
with
like in a back
okay.
tank?
Yeah, this here's my second surprise because I didn't remember this. And
Okay.
I my phrasing here sucks, but
But this is like uh the climax is over, and this is just
yes,
the
you're
little
right.
uh
The denouement here. We've
uh-huh wrapping it up.
so Count Dooku says, Darth Maul, meet me in this secret location. I'm gonna heal you, treat you,
Mm.
and you're gonna take part in this special project of mine. So I guess my thinking was, and I wrote this a few weeks ago now, but I don't know necessarily that we'd have a clone army all of Darth Maul's because he's so cool, right? Or it's just
Uh,
be that they're imparting Darth, kind of like what you were saying, using his genes or genetics or his not midichlorians obviously, but using him to help clone the army of whoever, the
so then
warriors.
Maul could actually die,
He could,
but
yeah.
they keep his DNA, and then in the next movie there's like 10 of him or 100.
Yeah. But I
Okay.
don't know. I don't know what's cooler. People can let us know in the comments if it was like this army of him, all the
Mhm.
same, or
Mhm.
it's just that each person of the army's different, but they've been given qualities of different Sith, including Maul.
Including Maul. Okay.
Yeah. So maybe like it could even be Dooku and Hantu, or oh, Hantu and Dooku. I see that now. uh are also imbuing these warriors with their traits.
Okay.
Yoda finds infant Boba Fett on his doorstep. And so I guess this is, after Django's been killed, his mom just abandons him or thinks that he'll have a better life with the Jedi.
Okay.
So Yoda plans to make Boba a youngling,
Oh.
take him in.
Yep.
So we'd see, I guess that means we'd see, Boba Fett's, at least his childhood, and how that kind of sets him on his path. And obviously, he doesn't become a Jedi.
Right.
Obi-Wan is promoted to Jedi Knight, just like the original, and he successfully lobbies with Amidala's help to have Anakin become his apprentice, just like the original.
Okay.
Um, the movie ends with Yoda and Windu speculating as to who could have been responsible for that massive rebellion, and if that was the end or merely the beginning of their troubles.
Okay.
So that's the end of my outline.
Oh, so I really like the idea of the coup to take down the democracy of the galaxy. I like the idea of these hidden spies, and I think we should just say one like Mace Windu says it that if you're force sensitive, you can't read the mind of another force sensitive person.
Hmm.
So that's why when they meet Anakin, they don't know he's force sensitive until they see it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the Jedi are basically they're monks, right? They're samurai monks. And if there's an evil samurai monk, they're only going to know he's evil when he tries to backstab them or takes out his samurai sword and tries to kill them. I
Yeah.
think we just make that where we're force sensitive Jedi, powerful force sensitive, either Sith or Jedi. They can read the minds of non-force sensitive people, but they can't read the minds of force sensitive people. And you just have that rule. And then if you have these double agent Sith in places of power, the Jedi would never know
Right.
until it's too late. And then they have to deal with the problem.
Yeah. And I remember in the original, there was a lot of buildup before the movie came out, and they were introducing like new Jedi to us, right? Like, and I remember our friend Jason was like, this guy, like Plo Koon, he's this new Jedi, he's gonna be a badass, right? And then like you see the movie and it's just like the Jedi counselors,
He's
they're
just sitting
just
there. He
they're
does look
there.
cool though. I
Yeah.
remember Plo Koon. He's wearing that mask.
Yeah.
He's kind of like a good Darth Vader looking cool guy.
Yeah.
And then he's only cool when you see him in the animated shows,
Yeah.
Clone Wars.
But like Plo Koon could be one of those secret Sith, right? Who turns and
Yeah,
then you see him, fighting the other Jedi, like tailing the lightsaber.
he's just as strong as they are,
Yeah, and it's just awesome, awesome Jedi action, which everyone wanted to see.
right?
Um, Also, you made a point in a different conversation though that the Jedi's clothes. You want to talk about that?
Oh, yeah. It made no sense to me in Phantom Menace when the Jedi all dress like they live on Tatooine, like in these robes. I mean, it makes sense because they're based on you know uh, samurai movies from the '60s, and so that's how the Japanese people wore. But it would make more sense if they were dressed like samurais with the armor and helmets. And to me, and they live on Coruscant, they don't need to be dressed in robes in these, grays and khaki colors. It'd be way cool if Mace Windu, when he goes to battle, he puts on his armor and helmet.
Yeah, and that could be like inspired by samurai armor, right? And that'd be
Right,
really cool.
exactly. Yeah, Space Samurai.
One thing I was thinking of, and I don't know if it would fly in today's atmosphere, but if my character Hantu was kind of like a Kaiser Soze, right? So
Mhm.
when we see Hantu, maybe he's pretending to be like physically disabled or something. Like so you
He's
wouldn't,
got a limp or
yeah.
something.
But I wanted
Yeah.
to that would help. But I wanted to ask you because I was thinking, obviously I revealed that well, it's not Palpatine who's the Emperor. It's gonna be his son Hantu.
Mhm.
But I also trying to like maybe even we were suspicious or we should have been suspicious of Valorum in my treatment. So it just makes it more of a mystery. But I don't know if what do you think? Should Hantu be revealed in this movie that he's gonna be the emperor, or should it wait until like the end of the second movie for a bigger reveal?
I think his last name's Palpatine, and so when he kills his father and with a lightsaber, let's say, stabs him in the back, and then he's talking with Darth Tyrannus, much better name than Dooku, that we realize, oh, this is young Emperor Palpatine.
Mhm.
Um,
So then in the second movie, he can continue to play the good guys, right? Like a fiddle,
right,
until he's
and they can't
actually
read his
ready.
mind because he's force sensitive and they're force
Yeah.
sensitive, and everything that he's done tells them that he's a good man.
Hmm.
Like he helped with the coup, you know, like his father was murdered. They trust him.
Any other thoughts on that? On my version?
Um,
I feel like the one thing I feel like I succeeded in my version would be the action, the Jedi action.
yes.
Maybe, the whole mystery stuff, I don't the political stuff, I don't know how successful that would turn out, but
I like all Yoda's sea story. Um,
yeah, and that also fulfills something that the fans wanted to see, more of our beloved characters like Yoda. So to give him a lot more screen time, to give
mhm.
him action, and just to preserve the Yoda that we're familiar with, I think those are good elements.
Yep. And I like the Magnificent Seven Samurai part on Tatooine. Um, it'd be great to see Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, you know, taking on like 30 Tusken Raiders, them just like blocking laser blast back at them. But then it's like, if there's literally 100 of them, then the Jedi really do need help because they'll get shot down just like anyone else. Um, and I like the ragtag group. I like the backstabbing of Ronin. Um, I like that Qui-Gon and
Hmm.
Shimmy,
Shmi.
Shmi,
Shmi.
they both get killed. That's a perfect low point. So our, two of our main characters have just lost their parents in a way, right? Definitely for Anakin, and Ronin killed his master. So Obi-Wan Kenobi's at his lowest point.
Hmm.
And then you have this giant battle on Coruscant, like in Parliament, in the Jedi Temple, on the streets, in space, um, and it in the ending, in the wrap up, when Mace Windu and Yoda are talking, it's not just, is this really over? It's that this just shattered the entire galaxy's perception of of stability. Like at the beginning, the galaxy has been in relative peace for, let's say, several hundred years, and then suddenly it's like it could be at war. Like the next movie, different planets or different systems could be at war with each other because Coruscant is now so weak, or perceived as weak.
Hmm.
And, a bunch of Jedi and council members have been killed. So they are weak. They're weakened in their spirit, and the populace doesn't trust that the Jedi can keep them safe anymore. So that's all really cool. And adding more Jedi and Sith fighting each other, like, you could have a scene in the Jedi Council where two of the council members turn evil, and you have Mace Windu and the other councilman, Plo Koon, it pulls out his red lightsaber. Like, that's great. That's what I wanted to see.
Right.
Honestly, that's what I wanted to see in the second one and the third one.
All right, so that does it for today's episode and my version of Phantom Menace. Whether you liked it or disliked it, let us know in the comments. We'd appreciate, though, if you'd subscribe and or like this video. And John and I are hoping to do a lot more of these. Hopefully people will start tuning in the next episode. And I'm excited for this one because A, I don't have to do any work for it, and B, John is much better at pitching movies than I am. We're going to revisit Terminator 3, and John is going to reimagine that movie for us and tell us what he thinks it should have been. Because Lord knows every Terminator movie since Terminator 2 has been a disappointment, and yet they keep
Yeah.
making them for some reason. Money, obviously, but uh, so that's next time. John, thanks for joining me in this endeavor,
Yeah, a lot of fun.
and we'll see you guys next time.